Hey guys, Alex from 7th Hour Films back again with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Last time on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure we had Who Will Be the Judge, where JoJo continued on with his normal life as a 17-year-old in high school, because he totally looks like a 17-year-old in high school, and he met up with another 17-year-old in high school, Noriaki Kakyonin, I think. When I was editing, I realized I pronounced it wrong the entire episode. Kakyonin. They'll say it again. I'll figure it out at some point. But yeah, he had a stand called Hierophant Green, I believe, and he possessed a nurse, and JoJo had to fight it and fight him, and then JoJo knocked him out and then took him to Joseph, and they realized that there's some sort of parasite on him that is putting him under Dio's control. So yeah, that was pretty much that. Also, Dio has a stand. I don't remember if they confirmed that in episode 1, but they did say that definitely. Dio was like, I have a stand now because of Jonathan's body. And it's like, why? But whatever. This is where I say no spoilers in the comments whatsoever. This is also where I say that if you want to watch my reaction to this episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, what you're going to have to do is head down in the description or to the pinned comment, click on the link there. That will take you over to the reaction. It's just one click away. You don't have to pay for it or anything. You just click and watch. And yeah, it's just like a normal reaction. Actually, maybe a bit longer of a reaction than if I had left it here in the YouTube video. We don't know. We'll never know, will we? Anyway. But yeah, you can go watch that. Hopefully you can have a good time, and when you're done with that, you can pop right back over here to this YouTube video for the discussion. And even if you don't want to watch the discussion, if you could just like mute the video and sort of just leave it open in a tab playing, that'd be nice. It's just nice to do that, you know. But whatever, do what you want, because a pirate is free. You are a pirate. Let's get started. Man, so Dio used... That was Joseph's stand. Because that was the purple thorns and the hitting the camera, you know? Can Dio use their powers? I don't know how that works, though. Because, I mean, like, okay, yeah, maybe for Joseph, I guess I get that. Maybe for Abdal, he could use fire. Maybe he could use Emerald Splash. But, yeah, how does that work? I don't know. I have no idea. But, alright, that was episode 3. Man, that was so crazy, man. Oh, excuse me. Man, oh man. So we kind of have our new, like, wedding ring of death, basically. Like we did in part 2 with, Wamu and AC/DC as well. But we kind of have that now, just being, you know, they have to defeat Dio in order to save Holly. So, man, oh man. And so we're going to Egypt. New location. I like that, you know, because part one was entirely in Britain, and part 2 we kind of got around a little bit. You know, we went to we did go to New York. Then we started in New York, then went to South America. Or, no, we went to Mexico. Excuse me. We went to Mexico, then we went to Italy, and then I think we ended up in Switzerland at the end. So, and then obviously the volcano at the end. So this time around, we start in Japan, and now we're going to Egypt. So I like the different locations that we're doing. You know, it definitely rounds out to an actual adventure. You know, so I really do like that. Man. All right, I gotta say, you know, I did love Joseph in part 2. I honestly did. You know, he's kind of our lovable scoundrel. I have to say, I really love that there is just no change in him, you know, like 50 years later, you know? He's still a son of a bitch, you know? But you can still see the old Joseph in there. Actually, one thing about part 3 here is, you know, because Joseph is older, he doesn't exactly look the same anymore, you know? He's got a lot more wrinkles, he's got the beard, his hair is completely gray. So it's kind of hard to really like look at him and be like, "Oh yeah, Joseph Joestar." You know, and also because the voice actor is different too. You know, he sounds completely different than Joseph did in part 2. But at the same time, there are a couple shots where I feel like they angle it in such the right way to where I'm like, I look at it and it's like, yep, I can see Joseph Joestar, you know? And I guess it also doesn't help that, you know, it also doesn't help that I think the art style changed for part 3 here. Some things are different for the art, definitely. So that just is another layer basically covering up the Joseph Joestar that we knew. But definitely through the mannerisms, and sometimes I can still really see it in his face, you know? So I love that. I honestly, kind of right now, Joseph is my favorite character, you know? And granted, if we're going for like overall favorite characters, maybe Jonathan, maybe Dio, maybe put up Wamu, you know, maybe, and then maybe Joseph, but definitely like going from part 2 to part 3 and just being 3 episodes into it, I can definitely say right now for part 3, Joseph is my favorite. I really do love him. So, well, and I especially love because it's Joseph as like the returning hero, you know? Like, whereas part 2 was like, you know, the hero's journey for him, you know? Now, he's basically the Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know, he's the wise mentor. You know, he's still a son of a bitch, but he is still a wise mentor to Jotaro now. So I do like that. I guess I shouldn't say son of a bitch, because that would be disrespecting Lisa. I still hope that she is alive somewhere. Like, maybe she only looks as old as Joseph does now, but I think that would be really, really funny. Anyway. Alrighty, so we can kind of go ahead and pop into the notes. The first thing I wrote here is the flesh bugs. So, okay, so it makes sense. It's interesting that, you know, that's kind of what Dio went for, was, you know, these insects that get into your flesh and, you know, put you under Dio's spell, basically, where last, you know, back in part 1, Dio would just make them zombies, you know? So, it is kind of weird, like, you know, like, it almost makes you wonder, like, can he even do that anymore? Like, okay, don't get me wrong, I'm sure he can. I'm sure he can still make people zombies, but I guess you kind of wonder, like, well, if he made, you know, Kakyoin a zombie, which I think that's how it's pronounced, Kakyoin, which I think I was putting in an extra N last time, so it's Kakyoin. I think with Kakyoin, like, maybe you could say, like, well, you can't turn him into a zombie because maybe he'll lose his stand, you know? I don't know. Maybe it's that. It's still very weird, though, this whole concept of stands, you know? And the fact that it is all linked to Dio, at least for the Joestars. So, I don't know. But, well, and I guess that's the next thing that I wrote down is Dio's power. So, we got that flashback where Avdol met Dio in Egypt, which, for some reason, Dio is in Egypt. Really don't know why, but whatever. So, yeah. Dio is in Egypt, and he did come across Avdol, and his hair became these, like, weird, like, vine spike things, and it's like, is that his stand? It has to be his stand. That's not a vampiric power, you know? That's not a power that he got from the stone mask. So, that was kind of weird. I guess, yeah, it has to be his stand. But what is his stand, I wonder? So, I don't know. It's kind of weird. I don't know what on earth his stand could be, you know? Because we had at the end, you know, Jotaro Kujo, stand Star Platinum. Joseph Joestar was, what was it, like Hermit Purple, I think? Avdol was Magician's Red, and Kakyoin was Hierophant Green. So, yeah, I'm curious as... I guess we just don't know. At this point, we don't know what Dio's stand is and what exactly it affords him in terms of power, you know? Because, yeah, he was also using Joseph's stand in order to get the picture of them, you know? Anyway. Okay. So here's the next thing I wrote down is Jotaro and Precision. Okay. You know, with the past 3 episodes, you know, not even, I guess just the past 2 episodes, this and last episode, Jotaro seems almost a little too good. Now, let me kind of talk through this a bit. He kind of seems to be a little too good. You know, he can face Avdol, who's had, you know, Magician's Red his entire life. And he can face Kakyoin, who, at the very least, has had his stand longer than Jotaro. So, it's very, I don't know, it's very weird that, you know, he can take on Magician's Red and Hierophant Green and be precise enough to remove Dio's flesh bug, which even Joseph didn't think he could do. You know, Joseph didn't think he could do that, you know, himself, and I don't think he was even considering Avdol doing that. So, I don't know. It's very odd. Like, I don't know. And I guess you could sort of... I guess one thing, though, is you can kind of chalk it up to the stand, you know? Because I was kind of thinking to myself, like, okay, you know, I know Jotaro's supposed to be, you know, the protagonist, you know? He's our main character this time around. Joseph is no longer the main character. He's kind of our, you know, support character. But, I don't know. Jotaro just seems to be a little too good. You know, even for being the main character. I mean, think about it, you know. Now, okay, I guess we have to, again, this is why I said I want to talk this through. Because, let's look back at... I guess we could look back at our previous 2 protagonists. Jonathan, it was kind of, you know, iffy. It's kind of iffy to compare Jotaro to Jonathan, because Jonathan did train, you know. He and Dio both got, you know, buff as fuck together because they were competing with each other. And then it's because of his training and his resilience that let him, you know, survive the burning of the Joestar mansion in episode 3. And then he had to learn Hamon to truly defeat Dio. Then, in part 2, we have Joseph. Joseph, who is a, you know, we've always said this, he's a brilliant fighter, you know? And he's a master strategist. He's also dumb as bricks, but not when it comes to fighting. And it's because of that and his ability to predict his opponent's moves that, let's be honest, he kind of, you know, lucked out for a while, you know? he lucked out against Straitso. He lucked out against Straitso because he kind of, he kept sort of screwing with him, he kept doing things that Straitso would have never thought he would do. Because he had the Tommy gun, and then he had the grenades and everything. So that worked out. Sanviento, he lucked out again, and it was really only because of von Stroheim that he was able to beat Sanviento. Escaping Wamu the first time was also definitely a stroke of luck, and then he was actually trained when he fought AC/DC and the rest of them. Jotaro now he didn't defeat Magician's Red. He did not defeat Magician's Red, and the fight was cut off before it got way too intense. And Abdul acknowledged, yes, your stand is really, really strong. Stronger than I would have thought. But we don't know if that fight had continued if Jotaro and Star Platinum would have won. But with Kakyoin, with the fight with Kakyoin and Hierophant Green, it seems like he's a little too good. Like, I don't know. And maybe, again, you can sort of chalk this up to the stand more than Jotaro, but he just seems to be a little too strong. Now, maybe it's a difference of stands, because Hierophant Green, maybe it's not as good of a fighter as it should be. I don't know. There's a lot you can really think about. Now, I like the explanation where when they're talking about Star Platinum's precision. I like when he says, my stand is precise enough to grab a bullet out of thin air, That's true. That is very true. I will give him that. It can grab a bullet, so it can be precise enough. So I sort of give it a little slack there. And then when, the thing is trying to get inside Jotaro, and Joseph is looking, it's like, wow, this is really impressive. He hasn't budged he hasn't budged at all. It's like, he still remains completely calm, even though, this thing is going through him, trying to reach his brain. So I don't know. Maybe I'm sort of over-exaggerating it, but I don't know. I feel like they're walking a fine line of Jotaro being a credible Episode 3 protagonist, or, and also him being way OP. They're walking a fine line. I guess they haven't fully hit, OP yet, but they sort of need to, I don't know, they sort of need to balance him a little bit, I don't know, maybe, and that's the thing, I wanted to talk this through. I didn't really have an answer for this, but I wanted to sort of talk this through. I'd be curious to hear what you guys say about this in the comments, whether it is Jotaro a little too good, or are they, walking a fine line with it? So, yeah. Let's see. Holly was manifesting a stand. I was kind of thinking about that. After episode 1, I did kind of think, okay, so, the Joestars, they're getting these powers because of Dio. And it's like, okay, so Joseph has, his vines, Hermit Purple, and Jotaro has Star Platinum. Okay, well, that's kind of interesting. But Holly, I was kind of thinking, so is Holly just not getting a stand? She is getting a stand, but I like that, they say, okay, stands are very dangerous, actually. You need to be very careful about a stand, because if you aren't, prepared physically and mentally to control it, then it will destroy you. And Holly wasn't ready for that, she's not a fighter. She's a kind, caring woman, Whereas Joseph is a trained, warrior, trained in Hamon and stuff, He is a trained fighter, and Jotaro, he is, a street brawler, and a good one at that, so it makes sense that he can also handle his own stand. Holly is not that way, so that was interesting. And And again, we had the whole, we have to defeat Dio in order to save Holly. Again, sort of our wedding ring of death for this part. It makes me curious if that's going to be like the rest of part 3 is, if the ending of part 3 is, well, we have to defeat Dio, Maybe this is gonna be it's such a long part though, like part 3 is so long that it's like this. I don't know, like for 50 days and we have like what 47 episodes or something left. Like we've got gonna be a long 50 days, I do like seeing Joseph taking care of Holly, like brushing her teeth and stuff like that. And it's funny because Joseph, who has to be in his 60s, they said, I think, Holly is like 46 years old or something, and he is basically like, I just love him babying her, basically. That was really, really funny, and again, because, we don't see, we didn't get to see young Joseph as a loving and caring father with, Susie Q and everyone, so, So it is interesting to sort of see like what that could have been. We get to see that in this scene. We have to go to Egypt because Dio is in Egypt. Why is Dio in Egypt? I don't get that. Like, he's from Britain. He was found in the Atlantic 4 years ago. Now he is in Egypt. Why? Why is he in Egypt? Don't know. Do not know. I like that Joseph, he brings in a bunch of doctors. I was kind of thinking like, oh, maybe these are doctors from like the Joestar Corporation, which Joseph did talk about in the first episode. But I love he says these are doctors from the Speedwagon Foundation. Oh, I love that. Speedwagon, Robert E.O. Speedwagon may be gone, but his legacy lives on. So I love that. So yeah, and then we get Jotaro's stand does get named Star Platinum. That is a fucking badass name, I have to say. Star Platinum. Ugh! Love it. And then at the end, we also got Dio. Again, Dio using Joseph's power, which I guess I kind of forgot to mention. So they do say that, a stand is manifested through, the person's primary way of fighting, basically, it like the stand adapts to the different ways that people fight. So for people like, Kakyoin and Abdal and Jotaro, all of their stands kind of just manifest outside their bodies and then they go fight. Whereas I like, because this creates the distinction, because Joseph doesn't have that. Some dude, some hermit guy doesn't just pop out of Joseph and then start fighting for him. Joseph, wraps the power basically around his own hands, and then he goes in and attacks or whatever he uses, I guess he uses the thorns. We kind of see that in the opening, So I like that distinction, that's how it adapts to his fighting. Because, yeah, Joseph, for 50 years now, has been fighting, more than 50 years, has been fighting with his own two fists. And yeah, Jotaro has done that too, but it's a bit different for Jotaro because, he hasn't been fighting as long as Joseph. So I like that it specifically manifests itself for Joseph like that, because that's just how he's fought all his life, So I like that. And we also got Hamon! They finally had Hamon in this episode. Man, that is so crazy that, we didn't really get any in episode 1. I don't think we got any in episode 2. And yes, this time, like, I was thinking, like, okay, Joseph, if that thing is just right there, why don't you just Hamon and then, send the Hamon through Kakyoin's body and then it'll destroy it. There you go. But I do like, so Jotaro had to get it out, and then, he threw it, and it was Joseph that used his Hamon. Because it's vampiric. Why can we not still use Hamon on Dio? He's still a vampire, isn't he? Unless they say that you can't use Hamon because it's Jonathan's body. That would be the only thing I could think of as to why we've changed up the magic system, but whatever. But that's basically it. A bit of a long discussion, but well worth talking about. So yeah, I enjoyed this episode. Next time, going to Egypt. So that'll be interesting. Of course, we might have a fight on a plane. So yeah, this was a really good episode, and I'm excited to see where we are going next time. So with all that being said, I'm Alex from 7th Hour Films, and I will see you guys next time. Take care. Alright guys, thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of my JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reactions, you can click on the playlist, you can subscribe if you haven't done that already, and be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media, links below in the description. See you guys later.